What is going on, guys? It is Joe talking about the Kansas State Wildcats. This time on the football side of things, we are jumping from post-game thoughts about the basketball team to post-game thoughts about the football team here in a span of 2 days. What a time to be alive. Kansas State takes down Baylor 59-25 in a blowout. And obviously, you know this game was one that Kansas State is expected to win. 20-point favorites coming into the week, but it still feels good to see everything executed to a T. The biggest storyline to talk about, and we will talk about it through the entire episode, believe me, is Will Howard claiming the top spot as one of the best passers in Kansas State football history. The most passing touchdowns in a career by a K-State quarterback is Will Howard. Absolutely thrilled for Will. It makes me so excited to see all the great things that he's been able to overcome and all the adversity he's had to face along the way. We'll talk about Will. We'll talk about the rest of the team, what I liked in this game, what I didn't like, whatever you want to say. When you put up 60, there's not going to be a lot that I didn't like. But before I do get into it, let me tell you this. I make videos about Kansas State every week, whether it be basketball or football. If it's something you're interested in, if you want to watch some K-State content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button because it helps me out immensely, as well as gets you guys some access to some K-State stuff, and I appreciate it a ton, guys. The first thing we're going to talk about is Will Howard, dude. I am fresh off watching the video, crying, of Will Howard, of everybody calling and congratulating him for being the top passer, the most touchdowns in a career. A guy like Will Howard, who faced so much adversity in his time, and you see that with each of the faces that popped into the screen. You think about a different time in Will Howard's career, or a different time in Kansas State football. Will Howard was thrown out there as a skinny, small, true freshman kid who really wasn't ready for Big 12 football yet because he hadn't played college football yet. We had to have him out on the field because Skylar gets hurt. He had a couple of different guys hurt. Will Howard gets thrown out there as a true freshman and plays starting football in the Big 12 Conference. I actually selfishly had the opportunity to call a game where Skylar went down, Will comes in, and a buddy of mine, Paxton, shout out Paxton, got to call the game and get to see Will Howard's first minutes as a Kansas State football player. So that was really exciting. Obviously, at the time watching Will play, it wasn't a situation where you think about him and say, this dude's going to take the passing touchdowns record for a career at Kansas State. Because you see a kid, the first kid ever to commit to K-State from the state of Pennsylvania. And now you look at the history he's faced. His younger brother goes to K-State, becomes the second player ever in Pennsylvania to come to Kansas State. It's just cool to see families not only feel the K-State family aspect, but really, truly live it. That's a really cool thing. I love everything about this kid, man. Will Howard has worked his tail off, dude. He has dealt with so much criticism, so much flack, so much backlash, all the different moving pieces. Like, freshman year, you come in for Skylar Thompson. Kansas State is really a solid team looking for a Big 12 title. Obviously, you've got coaching changes with the combination. You really did follow Chris Klieman because of a guy like Carson Wentz. I don't know if that was represented very well, but from what I had heard, Will Howard had chosen to follow Chris Klieman because his favorite college quarterback was Carson Wentz. And he said, who's the guy that got him to where he wanted to be? That's Chris Klieman. I'm going to Kansas State. Obviously, there's more stuff involved in that. I'm not just saying it's just because of Carson Wentz or whatever the case is. But you have a proven track record of quarterbacks, and Will Howard becomes one of those guys. He commits to K-State. You probably aren't going to see him early as a freshman because you have Skylar Thompson there. He's been there for a while. He's one of the better quarterbacks in the Big 12. Shocker, Skylar goes down, gets hurt bad. Will Howard gets pulled in, and you see not the inexperience, but just the fact that he's a true freshman. You see a true freshman out there trying to figure out where he can play. And Will had some great moments. Early in his career, he's a running quarterback. He's a rushing attack quarterback guy. And then now you see him like one of the best arms in Kansas State history. A guy who can throw the ball across the field, sling it across the yard. And it took him battling through adversity with multiple quarterbacks in that room, with multiple setbacks of times. Like, you live in the era of the transfer portal, where a guy can get disappointed and jump in and say, you know what? Skylar's here. I played true freshman year. Skylar's back. I'm not going to stay here. Or even junior year. Bring in a guy like Adrian Martinez from Nebraska. Okay, there's your guy. I'm not going to play much. I'm going somewhere else. Will elected to stay instead of just, jumping in the portal. And I'm not really one of the guys that's like, oh, jump in the portal, whatever. Like, I'm not really one of the old heads that hates the transfer portal, but I understand the reality is, like, if there's not a big opportunity for you, an immediate opportunity for you, guys will jump in the portal. Will said, forget that, dude. I'm staying here. I committed here to play quarterback here. I'm going to play quarterback here. And instead of, babying about it or complaining about it when he didn't get the starting job with Adrian Martinez, you bring Adrian in, Will went to work. So he was ready for his moment. And then Adrian goes down, and against the top 15 team in the country at the time, you get TCU undefeated. Will Howard comes in the game and says, you know what? I'm ready for this. And I know for my own sake, I wasn't necessarily ready for Will to come in because I was like, dude, we had a really good thing going with Adrian Martinez. What's going to happen here with Howard? We haven't seen Howard for 2 years now. I don't know if he's really developed, whatever the case is. Will comes out there and shuts me up, shuts everybody up, shuts everyone in the country up, and becomes a Big 12 champion, taking down the team that originally beat him in TCU. The only team, like, He didn't get the shot at Texas he wanted at the time. He didn't get a couple of shots here or there. You play Alabama in the bowl game. Like, Will quickly righted every wrong from his career. The guy turned it around and really turned over a new leaf as a quarterback. Coming into senior year, the adversity level isn't there at face value. You do get this kid, Avery Johnson, who's going to be one of the best quarterbacks that, it's one of the best quarterback prospects K-State's ever had. He's supposed to be lightning in the bottle, but this is Will Howard's team. Start off a little bit slow. I mean, SEMO you're dealing, but it is SEMO, so that's part of that. Missouri game, you hit kind of a not a rut, but you hit a bump against Missouri. Oklahoma State, fans are calling for your job. Everybody's turning down Will Howard. Everybody's, blaming Will Howard if the case is. Will, instead of complaining about it, shows up, does his job, goes and works. Avery Johnson, next game, Texas Tech, comes in, rushes for 5 touchdowns, and is the story of the college football world as a true freshman. And I know that, I had been a big vocal guy about Will Howard and Avery Johnson. I understand there's a role for both of them in their own ways. But overall, you want the experience of Will Howard. You want the maturity of Will Howard. And it showed that both guys could handle the process. Avery's not pissed off at the team. Will's not pissed off at the team, at the coaches. Everybody has to learn their part. Will Howard, once again, instead of babying about it or saying, you know what, all right, I'm done. I'm not playing this season. Go to the true freshman then. I'm out. And then transferring, doesn't do any of that, man. Once again, that's not Will Howard. That's not who he is as a person. That's not the guy he is. But just showing the resolve and the integrity and the focus, the mental fortitude, or as Chris Klieman would say, the intestinal fortitude the dude has, it's really cool to see what he did for Kansas State athletics. He goes out there and says, you know what? It's on me. I got to stop turning the football over. He stops turning the football over. He has a 12-1 touchdown interception ratio in his last 2.5 games, and the one pick is the Keegan Johnson bobble against Texas. Will comes out here and reminds the country, hey, I deserve to be an NFL quarterback. I'm one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Do not forget about me. Shout out real quick to Coach Dream Dowling. You brought up an absolute gem of a line, too. In that interview, I talked to him about the combination of Avery Johnson and Will Howard. And I said, you know what? It's really cool when you have these two guys that can both handle it, whatever the case is. And I talked about how sometimes Will Howard slips through the cracks because you have this giant ceiling that is Avery Johnson, that fans want to immediately turn to the hot hand. You know what I mean? Coach Dowling then says, Avery's a king, Will's a king. There's no comparing in that sense. But the one thing you can't do is put a champion on the back burners. Will Howard's a champion. He's not going to go quietly into the night anyway. This dude is a champion. He's going to play like a champion. He's going to handle business like a champion. On the field, off the field. He's going to do everything he does, whether it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or on game day for Saturday. Will Howard's a champion. He's going to act like a champion. And he showed you that today. He showed you that last couple of weeks. The guy's been the best quarterback in the Big 12 the last 3 games. Absolutely. You can make an argument for a guy like, I guess, a Dylan Gabriel maybe, or Quinn Ewers has been banged up. I don't know if there's a guy that you're like, oh yeah, that guy's really good. That guy's really good right now. Jalen Daniels injured, so he was one of the guys that was in that conversation originally at the start of the season. Will Howard went out there and worked, because that's the one thing he's done consistently is, you know what? I can't control what I can't control. I'm going to show up and work. And he worked his way into a massive career achievement at Kansas State University. Will Howard becomes your top touchdown scorer in terms of passing touchdowns in a career. That's Will Howard. That's the skinny kid we had out there that was nervous against Texas Tech in his first game. This kid showed up and worked and handled business. He put serious work in, and the dude deserves all the flowers, all the love and respect he gets, man. He's loved in the locker room. He's loved off the field. It is so incredible that a good guy like Will Howard has this going for him. And I don't want to sit here and say, wow, good for him, man. That's really great. We'll see it. None of the backhanded stuff, man. The dude showed up and worked. That's what happened, man. He deserves this. And that's the best part about it. Rather than just lucking into something or having something fall in your lap, Will showed up, and even when he couldn't be on the field, the dude worked like the starter. And you see Chris Klieman and the staff trust him. You say, Will Howard, everybody on the team knows you can win a Big 12 championship with Will Howard. And before I get off this little tangent here, I'm well aware that Kansas State still doesn't have the top spot to get back to Arlington and win another Big 12 title. To tell you the truth, guys, I have no idea how these tiebreaker situations are going to work. I just know Kansas State's going to need a little help. What I will say is this. This team is firing on all cylinders. Whatever Will figured out at halftime of the Texas game, and then said, you know what? Forget this. I'm the best player in the country. Trust me. Here he goes. And then Will lets that thing fly. Consistently, accurately. That absolute bomb, the needle, the dart, whatever you want to say, absolutely striped the ball to Jaden Jackson in the back of the end zone. Also, I'm still not sure that wasn't a touchdown, but we were up, 52-14 at the time, 52-13 at the time. I'm not really going to be the guy that's splitting hairs in that sense, but that was an absolute dart. And you've seen his confidence continue to grow on and off the field, knowing that, hey, whatever happens, Kansas State is going to win a football game. That's what I'm here to do. And you got to love that about the kid, man. He deserves every bit of the love he has going for him. It's a great thing to see what happened with Will Howard at Kansas State. Dude absolutely deserves it. And I cried extra hard watching all the dudes like Deuce come through. You watch a guy like Skyler, Adrian Martinez come in and say, you know what, Will, you deserve this. There's not a better guy this could have happened to. Malik Knowles, you see Cade Warner, you see some dudes that just almost slip through the cracks of hair in your memory. And then you say, you know what? Will was there for that. He stayed through this. He stayed through this. He stayed through this. This dude deserves every bit of what happened because he worked for it. And that's the incredible thing about this game. Now, because I've kind of gotten my Will Howard spiel out of the way, I will move on to some other things real quick. I don't want to have to take up too much of your time, but you get 2 touchdowns on the defensive side of the ball, you're going to win games. You're going to win a lot of games that way. Des Purnell, the fact that Desmond Purnell is only a sophomore blows my mind. It absolutely blows my mind. This dude feels like a fifth-year senior ready to go to the NFL draft. That's who Des Purnell is. The dude is playing all conference level football. You get Austin Moore out there as well. Like, it's just been a great thing to see. So you get some really great players on the defensive side of the ball. Then you get another huge play from Keenan Garber, a dude who about a year and some change ago was playing wide receiver and said, you know what, I will help my team best by switching to cornerback. As a senior, knowing that there'd be a huge learning curve, knowing that there'd be a whole lot of hoops to jump through, that dude baits Blake Shapen into an awful throw, houses it, for 45 yards. Heck of a play by Keenan Garber. Then you get another turnover late in the game. Kansas State is firing on all cylinders. I know there's going to be the people that are like, well, the special team's still figuring it out. Dude, we dropped 60. We dropped 60. This team's been looking for 50. They dropped 60. You have so many great players on the field at one time. It's all heading somewhere. So I'd say this about the team, we're going to need some help down the stretch, and I don't know the exact specifics. I know we're rooting for Iowa State tonight is when I'm recording this. Tomorrow we'll know if Iowa State beat BYU or not. I assume so. It's about the first quarter, 10-0 at the moment, which is great. There's going to be a lot of things that I don't know what are going to happen. I don't know what the specific situation needs to be to get Kansas State to a Big 12 title game. But for what it's worth, this team is going to fight, scratch, claw, do anything they can to get back to Arlington. And you've got a big match in the Sunflower Showdown with Kansas. I know Kansas just lost to Texas Tech. I know Jason Bean's kind of, he might be hurt for this game. I know that Jalen Daniels is figuring whatever is happening with his back out, and they had to go to a true freshman. That happens in college football. You're going to have a huge task regardless. It's in Lawrence. You got to take on a good football team. It's one of the better years they've had. There's going to be that task. Then you get Iowa State to close things off. Iowa State looks like one of the best teams in the Big 12 right now. Is it unconventional? Yes, but they look like one of the better teams. Kansas State, the test is never going to be off the plate, especially when you're a defending champion. So I'll tell you this, guys. I can't tell you what's going to happen between now and, the end of the year, between now and December, that first week of December. All I'll tell you is that I'm stoked to be along for the ride and watch this team play. I am so excited to be a part of Kansas State, to have gone to K-State, to know what that culture's like, and then to see these dudes go out there and play every single night for it. It's incredible. And we'll keep talking about K-State basketball as things start to heat up there, as things start to wind down K-State football. You've got 2 games left, one at the Bill, one in Lawrence. There's going to be 2 great games. Let's see if we can get some more records up there. Ben Sennett closing on all the tight end records. There's going to be a couple more guys with opportunities, but what a day for Kansas State. What a day for Will Howard. Guys, once again, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all you guys do to support Kansas State, to support me and the channel. If you're interested, once again, go ahead and consider hitting that subscribe button. It's always great to meet some more K-State people, and it does help me out on my end, so I appreciate all you guys can do on that side. Once again, guys, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I will talk to you in the next one. Go Cats.